There can only be one, and by one, I'm referring to King, the king of the hill. It's the king himself, LeBron James, the number one seed out of his own region, taking on Giannis Antetokounmpo in the championship of the King of the Hill here at the Blacktop on the Action Network. Joining me is Matt Moore and Brian Mears. Brian, talk to me here about the spread coming into this, the over-under, and just what we had coming into this in terms of futures for the preseason.
Yeah, so this game we have completely even, as you would guess. The spread's a pick 'em, money line, even money. Over-under is 18.5, so we're expecting obviously a pretty close game, and I don't know how you could make any argument that it shouldn't be, just even money straight up. I mean, these guys have been, I think, the most dominant players in the tournament. Obviously, LeBron had a little bit of trouble with Kristaps, or number 6 from Dallas, able to take care of business against Kevin Durant. Giannis just looked unstoppable.
Woo! And a nutmeg. So before we get to you, Matt, we have an around the world and a nutmeg in the first 4 points here. I just want to throw that out there. I'm glad
they're showing off. They are showing off heavy here.
Woo! And a sham god. Woo! Emptying the clip here with all the moves throughout the tournament that we've seen. Sorry,
Giannis showing off the whole thing, man. Yeah, LeBron came out hot out the gate, went up 2-0, and now Giannis is answering.
The question here, Matt, over under 0.5 2-pointers taken.
Under.
Under. Definitely under. It's going to be LeBron that's going to...
Oh!
It's going to be LeBron that takes it, man. And I got to say, the advantage from what we've seen, not just in real life, but in this game throughout the simulations, is I think the one difference here, they're pretty much even in every aspect of this game, except for the fact that Giannis can make up ground on the defensive side and clap the ball off the glass very similarly to what LeBron James did to Andre Iguodala in that famous moment in 2016 finals. Maybe it's just father time, but he does seem to have just a little bit quicker of a first step to me.
He's also legitimately several inches taller than LeBron, which is sort of crazy. It blows my mind how tall Giannis is. We always talk about KD being a 7-footer, even though he won't admit it. Giannis is the same way. I mean, the dude is over 7 feet tall, has to be, right?
I'm honestly curious if he's grown in the last 2 years. I know he's at the age that humans usually stop growing, but I'm not putting anything. Oh my goodness! This has turned into a dunk contest. It would not surprise me if Giannis Antetokounmpo just kept growing until he was 30 years old. The human body, the Homo sapien does not apply to this man.
I know. It's crazy. That was sort of an undercurrent of the I was thinking about this during the Last Dance on Sunday. Some of the best players ever are the guys like Scottie Pippen, Anthony Davis, the guys who were guards and then all of a sudden came back one summer, at 18 years old and grew 9 inches. And so all of a sudden have the wing, big body, but still have all of the skills. Giannis is another example of that, honestly.
So I'm thinking of what James Harden said to Giannis, is that all he does is run around and dunk, which is what he's done this entire tournament. But my question, why don't you try stopping it instead of complaining about it? If nobody could stop, all Shaq did for 2 decades was use his big body and his great footwork and his finishing ability at the rim to body little dudes. It's just the way it is, man. You can complain about it all you want, but until you stop it, and no one's going to actually put any value in what you say, because he does this in real life too, and there's no help defense out there to help LeBron or anyone that Giannis has laid waste to up to this point.
It's the dumbest argument. It's Steph Curry only takes 3-pointers. Okay, he hits them at 50% rate. Babe Ruth only hits home runs. Yeah, those things are all good things. Yes, what are we arguing about here?
That's a good point. Yeah, all he did was hit homers.
The block. Oh man, Giannis' defense is so good.
That's the difference right there, man. So not only does Giannis have the ability to get to that block, but in a game of one-on-one where you don't have to check outside the 3-point line after you get the turnover, that's why he's able to bring up the score like this on 8-5, because he gives himself alley-oops by getting blocks at the rim, pretty much.
That was probably a game right there, Matt, that block. Yeah. Because LeBron, like you said, is just not going to take a 2-pointer. If he was playing Harden and you knew that Harden was going to get to a step back, this game is interesting.
Oh! Does he have that right now? Does Giannis have that?
He's shown it off about. I've watched it about 4 times in all the clips of Giannis I've watched. It goes in, but he does not go to it very often.
Because that
He
was
does.
deep. That was deep. That was outside the free throw line.
Giannis is about to
This is
to
it.
claim the hill.
Here
I
it
mean,
comes.
it's game over. LeBron's not scoring
Yeah.
6 points, which he has to win by 2. You know.
Yep.
Well, it's got to start here. This is not a good start. And I'll believe. Give me a stop and I'll believe.
Even if he gets a stop, he's got to get 4 more. I mean, that's not happening against Giannis.
Because I'm feeling the 2. That's why.
This live line is minus 10,000.
No, all right, we're back.
Stop there.
Cooking. LeBron will not go down. Down 3, the equivalent of almost 3-1 right now.
Yep.
Oh, you had the step back
yeah.
jumper. Come on, LeBron.
You got to pull that. Got to pull that. But it's such a big hole. Even if he pulls it and makes it, still down to a game point.
That's tough, man.
Here he comes.
Giannis' defense is insane.
Here he comes.
This is why he's on the podium, man, for Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, behind the back is over. The dethroning of the king is complete. There is a new crown that man. Crown him. Everyone do the crown for me in the comment section. We have a King of the Hill, and it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, champion of the 2020 King of the Hill Action Network at the Blacktop. Entertaining finals championship there, guys. I kind of expected LeBron to stay a little bit closer than that, but he almost played well and still lost by 4, which is scary.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show that the only way that you're going to beat Giannis is a Harden type that's going to shoot threes.
Yeah.
But it's so tough. While we were talking about this, me and Matt, when they were playing, is that Harden was able to get to that step back against a big. He played. Blake Griffin in the opening round was able to go against Embiid, just get to that step. I mean, the domination he had against Embiid, getting that step back, hit 4 of 4 from 2. That happens. Against Steph, though, he didn't take those. He went and, played in that mid-range game. The problem is Giannis is a big. He's a 7-footer, but also has the quickness to be able to guard anything Harden does. And that's just what happened in this tournament was Giannis is too quick and too big. Literally no one can stop that.
LeBron's okay though because LeBron beat KD, and that was probably the one that he really cared about. He was able to.
That's true.
Right.
He was able to settle that question and be like, no, he's not better than me. He's not worried about anyone thinking Giannis is better than him.
So let's talk about, did we learn anything from this experiment that we've done? We have spent 100 hours on this, simulating, ranking, talking about, trying to analyze it. I understand we're working with some limitations here. It's a video game. Artificial intelligence of NBA 2K probably favors the bigger player for whatever reason. So we have to everything we interpret and talk about has to be taken into context of what the game actually entails. But what I learned is I think Giannis in that type of format is truly unstoppable because Harden really did the only thing that you can do to beat him and still couldn't pull it off, right? You stretched him out, but Giannis's defense is just so insane. His ability to go from defense to offense, granted, he doesn't have to go full court. He just has to either check up or just go right back up to the rim. But he is such a problem. Like, even when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, how he influences the game, even when he doesn't get his hand on a block, doesn't count as a statistic, but holy crap, he just influences every moment of it. So pending any drastic injury to him, it makes me feel like that he is probably the next torch-passing superstar, even more so than Kevin Durant.
Yeah, the comparisons to Shaq have been there for him for a while now. And last year, I wasn't even like trying to make that comparison directly, but when I made the argument for Giannis for MVP, I did say, like, look, if you want the synopsis, he's the most dominant player in the NBA. And like you saw that throughout this tournament where he's just dominant on both ends of the floor, where he gets to what he wants almost every single time, and he stops you from getting what you want almost every single time. And that combination is what has made him into what's going to be a 2-time MVP. And if we have a playoffs, I would expect him to at least be right there with a chance to add a title at a very young age.
Yeah, that's the question I think that remains for me. After this tournament, we talked pre-tournament. How much would size matter? believe that it mattered a whole lot. I think probably 2K is overrating it. I'm sure Matt was angry about maybe how much 2K was overrating size, but that's the question. Is like, how much is it really worth in this setting? I think it's quite a bit, but did 2K go too far? Maybe, with some of these like slower bigs, like a Jokic or a Porzingis or whatever. But like Giannis and LeBron and KD being the final guys in this tournament is right. That's how it should be. Like the size, the combination of the size and the quickness is the most important thing, and that ended up coming to fruition here.
Well, let me echo what you said real quick, because I do agree with you on both fronts that one, this game certainly, it looks like it favors the big guys. And I think that's deserving, because in a one-on-one setting, I don't know how a little guy would ever get a rebound. If I'm a big guy, I'm just throwing it at the rim and I'm just playing volleyball with myself like I'm Dennis Rodman until it goes in. But on the contrary, if I'm a little guy, I'm sure as hell shooting a lot more twos or threes in the real world than I think we saw, because that's the only advantage that they have is the speed to get out there in the outside shooting ability. So if we could go back in time and play Monday morning quarterback on how to fix this simulation to make it more realistic, I think we can all agree that some more 2-pointers from the guys with severe physical limitations versus the big guys would probably be the strategy here. But I'm pretty sold in terms of this did a great job of overall, like if you were to do this with real life players, I think you would see a very similar situation in which those point forward swingmen would be the majority of the Sweet 16 in the Elite Eight, simply for those reasons, Matt.
Well, and those are also the best players in the league, and those are also, when we look at the 2K ratings, because they're the best players in the league, those guys have the highest 2K ratings as well. I talked about this a lot with Brian. The guys that took twos were essentially the best players in the league. It was almost like the AI docked their decision making a little bit if their 2K rating wasn't that high. Because what I actually want to see a lot more of, especially in the guards versus bigs, was if you have the mid range, like you should be able to operate a lot in that, where you drive hard and then dribble back out, and there's space there because the big can't accelerate out back to you. Like, there's no way for Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic or any of these bigs, if they have to go backwards because you get the first step on them, they can't then reverse course and explode back out to guard you in the mid-range. And there should have been a lot more of those shots, I think, that was my biggest argument against it. Another thing I think to keep in mind is when I started asking people around the league about this, they're like, oh, everybody would play 3 to 5 dribbles, like 5 dribbles at most, because they wouldn't allow for just – oh, Embiid's just going to back – like, how many times do we see, like, yesterday when they glitched and they were just, like, dribbling against each other constantly? Like, you wouldn't see that in any sort of NBA actual one-on-one tournament. They'd be like, no, like, you have to be able to get to your moves in order for you to be able to score effectively. And, like, guys that I think this tournament really didn't give the benefit to they just wound up trying to body their way through bigger opponents. I think that's a big difference. So we have so many guys in the league that are elite at getting to their shots, not layups, not drives, finishes through, not dunks, but like great shots from, the mid-range from 3-point. That's what I would want to see more of is a little bit more diversity in the decision-making of what those players went to.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's the hardest thing to simulate. You can simulate size and all these like pretty moves and stuff like that. Hardest thing to simulate is going to be the basketball IQ decision making of it. Right. And even take something simple, like if a guy is down 9-4, he's not going to try to be backing down Joel Embiid. He's going to be trying to cross over and get a step back to get to a 2-pointer, even a great 3-point shooter, because you have to try to catch up. LeBron there should have taken a 2-pointer, even though it's not optimal for a LeBron in a regular possession sort of idea. It's the decision making that I think leaves a little to be desired, but it was a fun couple weeks.
Overall, it was fun as hell. This is fun as hell.
Yeah, that's how I was going to put a bow on all this. I think this was a lot more fun than we even imagined it when Matt came up with the idea originally. Mm-hmm. This kind of evolved into something that was unique and different. And since we're in a pandemic right now, we can't simulate a one-on-one tournament. Maybe we just laid the groundwork for something they can do at All-Star Weekend. Someone out there will see this, and we can create an event of one-on-one, because I know people would pay to see this type of stuff included in the Saturday night activities. We'd all be watching a very brief King of the Hill tournament. 64 is a lot, but hopefully this sparks the conversation. So for those of you that made it this far into not only this broadcast, but throughout this tournament and have dealt with us this entire time, drop into the comment section. Tell us maybe something that you want us to do in the future, whether it's doing classical players, the Last Dance Jordan versus the Bad Boys Isaiah Thomas. If there's an appetite for that from you guys, we still have this type of technology available to us. So drop it into the comments, either in Periscope or on Twitter, and we will work to create something hopefully that is as cool as we just produced for you guys. So thanks for sticking around. And any last words from you two before we sign off?
Kristaps Porzingis should not have made out of the first round.
Enough of him. Yeah. Well, that's a discussion for another day, and we will fix that in the sequel. The committee will put him up against Giannis somehow in the round of 32. So we will fix that for next time.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.